G'day, everybody. How you going today? It is so good to see you, Bobby. It's so good to see you. What's going on in Singapore today?
Oh, Matt, we had a terrible storm last night, but we are back in action here, my friend. And how you doing today? How you doing?
I'm doing great, and I wanted to start off this episode by first saying hi to Roger, to Carl, and to Jim in the chat, and everybody else who's there. And also to say my beautiful electric bike, which you know I use a lot for my videos, had a flat tire for about a month. I finally took, it's been winter, so there's been a little less biking. I finally took it in for repair, and I'm going to go pick it up after this episode. So I'm pumped to have my bike back. That means more in the
Pun
field
intended.
stuff.
Pun
Yes,
intended.
and yeah, good point. Good point. Good point. Plus, I've had it for 18 months, Bobby. Does anyone want to guess how many kilometers, or I'll let you say it in miles? How many kilometers or miles do you think I've done in the 18 months since I had it February 2024? Just a
I'm
guess.
gonna guess probably about 1,000 kilometers.
Nice, nice. Does anyone else? I'll give a little bit of time in the chat. Also, welcome to Flats Nation. If you want to say in the chat, how many kilometers do you think I've done? So not only on the electric bike in 18 months, not only did the electric bike go in, but the electric scooter. I don't know if you ever saw me riding around on a scooter, but I rode around on a scooter before I rode around on my bike, and that also had a flat tire. And so they're both being fixed at once. I'm so excited about it. Now, Bobby, tell me, so I've got one other bit of news, but tell me what happened.
Yeah.
Carl is saying 100 miles. Carl, it's much higher than that. Come on, baby. Live the dream. I'm going to give you that clue. Much higher than 100 miles. Bobby, what's exciting for you this week is before I share my other bit?
I got to tell you, Matt, first and foremost, I got to love the color combination you have here. You have the case hat with the red and orange. Then you got the jacket that matches beautifully. The black t-shirt, black hat. You've just got it locked in today. Friday is your day. This is Matt Irwin styling day.
But right back at you, Bobby, because you've got the silver of the Leica and then the lighting behind you, you've gone silver. Can you change the color of that light, or what's going on? I think
I can actually. I could change the color of on it, but yeah, the app's just not working right now.
So you're stuck in silver, so you've got to do that.
Yeah.
Edward Phillip,
yeah.
Cool guys, enjoy the show. Sigma, yes, absolutely. Roger is saying seventh. Wow, Jim is saying 723. Roger's saying 7,200. Roger, I love your work. Do you know that would mean that I'd be riding to Sydney and back 5 times? I haven't done that. Okay, maybe it's time for the big reveal. Bobby, you said, what did you say? 1,000. The answer is 2,600 kilometers, which I'm pretty proud of. Thank you very much.
There you go, my friend. Yes.
Very much.
Keep it healthy.
It's
Keep
great
it
work.
healthy.
So thank you. But now, so you've told me you love my color combos, but what have you done this week that's been particularly exciting?
This week has been interesting. I mean, I've been just finishing up all my stuff on the World Aquatics Championships from when I did that with Sony. So I've been finishing all that up, the videos, the content, all that. And it's been fun to see the replies on that, the responses on that. I think it's been the settings on the camera system. People knew the settings, some people didn't know, kind of a refresher. And it just goes to show how much technologies in these cameras that we may not know about all the time. And sometimes we just get our information from YouTube, and even YouTubers are given limited information when they do this stuff. So it's great to get this kind of I got firsthand information from the guy who designed the autofocusing system. And so that was really cool. That was one of the things this week. I think, Matt, this is going to be an exciting few months for camera tech. I think we both can say that coming up here. Obviously, things we can't disclose, and we're not going to get into all that. But I think this is going to be a very exciting time. And I'm excited to see what people's reactions are. That's kind of, I think, we're the calm before the storm, Matt. That's what I think's happening
I love it.
here.
I hear it. I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stand by, gold leader. Stand by. Go for throttle up. So my next bit of news is, I don't know if anybody's heard of Frames magazine. Frames magazine comes out of Switzerland, out of London, out of a few areas around the world, and this is the website of Frames magazine, just popping up on the screen right now. And Frames magazine reached out to me a couple of weeks ago and said, We love your work. We think you're one of the great YouTubers, street photographers on the platform, and we want to interview you with one of my all-time favorite
Wow.
YouTubers, which is Hugh Brownstone, and
Wow.
yeah, and Chris Nichols from Petapixel slash DP Review slash Camera Store. And so there's going to be a podcast series coming out maybe in a month, which I'll talk about more at the time. But that was a really big honor to be included in this series. And I'm going to be reaching out to both of Hugh and Chris, and hopefully getting them on the channel in future
Yeah, you should.
in future episodes. So that's exciting, and I'm looking forward to that coming out. And so that's the news from my week, Bobby. Let's move into the first piece, the first headline, which is Kodak. Now,
Yeah.
yes, I'm aware that there was a report by CNN, which I'll just throw up here on the screen, and then there was kind of a retraction or an amendment, shall we say, that came after that, which was, well, yes, we do have, I mean, it's crazy. Yes, we do have $500 million worth of debt, but it's okay. We're going to keep trading. Basically was the outcome after this original article was published on August 13. So it was only published 2 days ago, but very quickly that there was this amendment to it. Bobby, this sort of segues into another topic that we want to talk about. But firstly, what do you think about Kodak and Kodak's kind of, future? Because they've messed around with a lot of things since the digital age. And you and I would both know they were some of the trailblazers of the original digital cameras, where they'd put these enormous digital backs inside of a Nikon F5, I think it was, or a Nikon F3. I can't remember which camera it was. So they were there first, but somehow they lost their place, and it's been a struggle for the last 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think with the up and coming, they were the ones I think were really integral with the CCD sensors. You know what I mean? Like, they were the ones that really started this, and they got the ball rolling. But I think, look, with anything, Kodak's an American company. They had a lot of things doing with film and then digital. They're trying to balance them both, plus other things that they're involved with. So I think it's a very challenging time for them in that era. I mean, obviously now they're trying to get their footing back in the game. They've been doing great with film. I mean, the film prices have just gone up and up and up. They've been doing fantastic with film, but I think the other sides of their businesses might not have been doing as good as they were hoping they were going to be. Hence this report that came out there. But, here's the thing with Kodak. I think they do best when they just focus on a couple of things versus trying to be too diverse. You know what I mean? And I think with any company, obviously, when you have some success, you want to build on that. You want to continue with that. You want to do with every different disciplines and verticals. But I don't know. I think this news kind of shook everybody going, wait a second, Kodak Film's going out of business. And then they had to come out and say, wait a second, we're okay, guys. We're okay. The film business is not going anywhere. We're doing good in that side of it. It's just some restructuring of the business and et cetera, debts and all that kind of stuff that they're all taken care of. So I don't know. I kind of feel like it was somebody jumping the gun because Kodak's got a lot of different wings. And so they just assume when you hear Kodak, you think film and you think cameras and you think this, but yet there's other sides to them. So I don't know. What are your thoughts? It's kind of like, I feel like it was a bit more of a jump the gun story than anything else.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that it came out of CNN, which we would consider a reputable news source in general across the decades. And I haven't read all of the article, but it was derived from their actual financials. Their financial report is where this information was kind of gleaned from. I suppose what we don't realize with these enormous companies, and we're talking about 500 million in debt. So what is their market cap? Like, they must be a multi-billion-dollar company, and it just shows how these businesses can still cruise along, even with these enormous, black spots on their books. Which is why the whole thing that a few years back about Nikon was just so ridiculous, because we weren't talking 500 million, we were talking a very small amount of money. Anyway, we won't go back to the past. So I think it's amazing from a corporate perspective. I think Kodak is a brand, like, if you were to say film, there is no question everyone would say Kodak first, and then they might go, Fuji, Ilford, and what else springs to mind immediately? Maybe Agfa after a little while. I mean, please write in the comments. If someone says film, what do you say? And I think we would all say Kodak or Kodacolor Gold or something.
Yeah, agree.
So it's an astonishing brand, and it's interesting that we've seen brands like Atari, which basically are doing nothing but still getting bought, and then they try and do, someone buys the brand and then tries to do something with it. And I don't know if you're across this, and it's a bit of a swerve, but Commodore has just been Commodore 64.
I saw that. I saw that.
Yeah, and now they're going to bring out, so this is these brands that have such cachet with people of our generation, a bit younger, a bit older, and people are they're keeping them. And Kodak's enormous. Like Kodak, 20 years ago, you would walk into a supermarket and next to the Mars bar and the Tic Tacs is rolls of film. Like it was in our lives, in front of our eyes, everywhere, all the time. G'day, Jay. Great to have you here. Who else is in the stream? We've got Stephen, Joe, Edward, Philip, and a few other people. I will get to you because the scroll just scrolled. Yeah, so Kodak is a brand that shouldn't be left to go, and it's interesting to me that they're, I was sent this camera, and it's not a Kodak, but Kodak have messed around with things like this, these sort of very affordable, almost throwaway,
Right.
but this is actually a digital camera, and, maybe that's the place they should go. I don't know. But I did want to segue, Bobby, over to... So on Sony Alpha Rumors, our dear friend from Sony Alpha Rumors, Andreas, he is saying Sony should license the Kodak, color profiles, and I want to talk about it in this episode. What do we think about color profiles in general? Everybody's, not just Kodak or Sony, but he's suggesting that Sony should license them. What do you feel about that idea? I can't see those two brands together. They just feel like they clash to me. Not for any other reason. It's just like sort of going Apple and. Who makes PCs? Who's like the third biggest PC vendor in the world?
Like Lenovo, for example, or something like that.
I just couldn't see Apple and Lenovo together, right? It just doesn't feel right. Or Apple and Dell, it just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you on that. I don't know. I think we can talk more about his channel and some of the speculation and rumors that he comes up with, but I feel like that's a bit of a stretch. And I feel like, and it's honestly like, I mean, if you think about, and he's obviously Kodak and film simulations, you probably think, okay, Leica, maybe someone that dives into that kind of retro thing. Fujifilm already has theirs, so it's kind of their thing. But I mean, Leica and Kodak had a long history together for many, many years, and even I think the first M8 and M9 were designed off Kodachrome or designed with Kodak, or I think the M8 I think the sensors were designed with Kodak to some degree. And even with the R9, digital back, I think that was Kodak sensor, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a lot of relationship there. That would make more sense since they still make film cameras. And then you could say, well, then obviously they're bringing that in with their heritage. That makes more sense. Not because I'm wearing the hat, but because I just think of the whole thing, right? Whereas, but I do
just
feel like
case.
the Sony, but this is the thing. So many people would love to pay Kodak a premium for this color profiles, Kodachrome, Aerochrome, for example. Imagine how much money Kodak could charge for this and make to license these color profiles out if they can make it. Again, there's a lot of people out there online that are making presets and all these kind of things for Lightroom that are really trying to replicate Kodachrome and Aerochrome and various different levels of Kodachrome, because there's various different years and different formulas that were involved. And it's like the look that everybody wants. But if Kodak could actually make a digital file or that you could replicate it and put inside of a camera, they could charge a premium. They'd get out of that $500 million bet, no problem at all. That would clear their debt pretty fast. But I don't know.
Yeah, look, it's I agree with you that making color profiles not as easy as you think, and I'm not sure it would. I don't think it would impact Sony's fortunes either.
Nobody cares. No, I don't think it would work with Sony, to be frank with you. It doesn't like you said, it's like Dell and Apple working together. You just don't see Sony taking on Kodak color profiles for their camera systems. Again, they probably can afford it. Obviously they could probably buy it out and no problem at all with that. But I would say it doesn't make much sense. But this is where we'll talk about the channel in a bit later on. We've got some probably topics to talk about that, where we could go into some of these speculations.
We will segue away from talking about Sony Alpha. And I wanted to drop in at this moment, Bobby. Now, remember we conducted a poll last week.
Yes.
Do you remember that poll? Now, do you remember what that poll was about, by any chance?
Matt, I remember we did a poll. I just don't remember.
AI. I'll give you a clue.
AI.
It was about.
Yes.
I'll make it easy for you. It was about AI.
Thank you.
So what I'm going to do is throw up here on the screen the poll, the results of the poll.
Yeah,
and
let's check this out.
they should appear for you in I don't know, about 10 seconds. And anyway, I'm so pleased that we got 600 votes, because that's actually a lot of votes. So that means we're getting a really good sense of, should photographers disclose the use of AI in their images. Now, if you haven't voted in this poll, please jump to my posts page, and I will put a link in the description here in the chat. But it's just
Wow.
it's the same as my homepage. But anyway, the results were 69%. So basically 70% almost said yes, they should disclose. Only 3% said no, and 28% said use case dependent. So that is overwhelmingly and categorically yes. So I just thought it'd be
Yeah.
interesting to follow up on that, and because you and I agree it's a fantastic conversation, something that we
Indeed.
can talk about more in the future. And in a way, we need more fine grain and detail on the answers. The problem with YouTube quizzes is they only give you 4 options for
Right.
4 potential things to click on. So I don't know. We'll work on that. But I really love the fact that everybody got involved. I really appreciate it. And 600 is a big
Nice.
number, and that's absolutely fantastic. Jay Blue has talked about, in regards to Kodak, this is an opportunity for private equity investors to participate in the restructuring of Kodak's financing situation. I do believe the company will survive, but clearly changes will be coming. Yeah, well, as someone commented before, and I read in the article, they're going to do things like remove pensions from, in order to save money, they're going to remove the pensions that they, I don't even know how you do that. You know, you owe people money and you're just going to, sorry, they're gone. I don't know
they'll go
how
to court
that works. How does that work?
They'll go to court for that. They're going to go to court for that one. I don't think they can do that. I mean, once you've already, if you were an employee and you had a pension, they can't just remove it. Maybe for current employees, maybe they'll have them restructure their agreements and remove pensions. But for past employees, that's going to be a very hard thing to do. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, it does make sense from Jay's perspective, where it says like a private equity investors might just come in, restructure it. I think they do need some restructuring, probably some streamlining, figure out what's the best way forward for them. And I think, also, I mean, they really, for the film industry, the film business as well, they're the driving factors behind it, because a lot of companies are relying on their cinema film to make rolls of film to sell for our cameras. But now they've also handicapped that to some degree, because they want to keep that for, cinema and film, and not just have everybody just riding off the coattails of this. So it's a very convoluted mess. I think they do need somebody to come in there and kind of clean things up, because I'm a fan of Kodak film, but I'm not a fan of the price increases they've had year over year. They've gone absolutely crazy from what it was 6-7 years ago. It's just almost unattainable now for the majority of people. And I don't feel that's fair.
Can I ask you a question, though? Do we know how much of the price rise is Kodak's wholesale price versus just simply retailers? Like, do we know?
It's wholesale. Most of it's wholesale, because they'll say they're increasing their prices, and then the retailers have to reflect accordingly, because they have to pay more for that import, that cost of getting the film in.
Yes.
So I think
if it's a wholesale price increase, that's what it is, and that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, well, moving on to our next bit of news, Bobby. Sigma, always wanting to make lenses that we've never seen before. And again, circling back to Sony Alpha rumors, which we will talk about more later. But right now we're going to talk specifically about this lens, which is just, the rumor is that there is it makes sense, a 135 f1.4, which has never been done before, is basically what they're telling us. I'm just trying to zoom in here a bit. I've lost my mouse again. There we go. You'll be seeing that on your screen. So yesterday, Sony Alpha Rumors reported a Sigma 135 f1.4. They're calling it the Bokeh King. Now, I suppose the issue that we want to talk about a little bit later is, Bobby, do you want to just highlight, just signpost what we're going to talk about at the end of this episode in regards to this post and perhaps other things?
Are these kind of leaks necessary? Do they damage the industry? Do they really, are they worth it? Is it worth it for a few thousand views to do leaks like this? True or not true? So does this, I mean, because companies spend a lot of time building up a product, making a product, figuring out how they're going to launch it, and then somebody leaks some information, and somebody decides to report on it because they want to be first out there, they want to be the voice of leaks, but does it actually help the industry? And that's
Very
kind of what
good.
we'll talk about later. Yeah, talk about later on.
Yeah, we'll pick up that topic later. But I just want, so if this lens is real, what I've read is there has been a 135 1.4 before, but made by Mitagon, but it was manual. So this is a first, and we know that Sigma will do an outstanding job. If this is real. Now we already know lenses like the Sony 135 1.8, the Plena 1.8, and the Canon 1.8, all fantastic lenses,
Yeah.
but Sigma have taken it one step further. They're giving us a third of a stop more, and as Sony Alpha Rumors loves to always hype everything, they're going to call this the Bokeh King. Give us the Bobby Tonelli version of the Bokeh King.
The Bokeh King. Yeah.
There you go. I like it. Oh, that was very rock. That was very Rock Johnson. Nice.
There we go.
Yeah, like it. So and also on top of that lens, which I'm guessing will be large, it'll have a very large front element. It probably. Well, what are they saying here? Let's scroll down and have a look. They're saying it'll be for Sony E and for L. Yeah, because we don't need really one of these lenses. It's not going to be particularly different from what we've got. It'll have extreme bokeh. It'll have roughly 9.8 centimeters of depth of field when you're, well, I don't know what they're saying there. A subject distance of 3 meters and an 85 1.4 gives you 9.8. This will give you 2.8 centimeters of depth of field. Incredible! More discreet shooting. Yeah, okay. Easier background separation. And great indoor light performance. There you go. There's no actual specs on like how big and heavy and that, but that front element might end up being, 105 millimeters or something, mightn't it? Could be huge.
I don't know. I don't think it'll be that big. My guess is, again, we're all speculation here, is that Sigma has been getting smaller and smaller with their lenses as of late, except for the 300 to 600, which is massive. But I think they've been really trying to bring the size down. So I think they might have found a way to bring that size down to probably a more manageable front, maybe 95, I'm guessing. I don't see it to go beyond that.
Still big.
Because
that's still big.
Again, all speculation. I have no clue whatsoever. It could be 82,
of course.
86. It could be something like that. But you know what I mean? But
yeah.
It'll be shocking to see what they do with it. But this will, if they do this lens, it could be quite special. It definitely could be quite special. But then again, it's like, if you're doing portraiture, you're going to have to stop down. Otherwise, you're really just getting an eyelash in focus, folks. This kind of depth of field, you're not going to get a lot of things in focus. So I do think that it might be better for a distance portraiture. But then again, how much? Then at that point, between 1.4 and 1.8, is there a big difference? Is it worth that extra?
Well, yeah, that's sort of my thing. How much of a difference is there between 1.4 and 1.8? So not much. I don't know how I've ended up with 2 comments on the screen here. That's something awesome. I don't know whether the rest of the world can see that or not.
Yeah.
It's double. How did I do that? That's cool. I'm going to take one away. Great.
There you go.
There we go. But it's hot in the desert. Paul is telling us it's still toasty hot here in Tempe. Is that how we say it? Tempe in Arizona?
Tempe.
We don't say Tempe. Oh, you do say Tempe. Okay.
Yeah.
Is Tempe a different place? No. That's how I would pronounce it. I just think I've heard of a place called Tempe somewhere.
Yeah, no, yeah. There's Tampa Bay, Florida.
Tampa.
But Tempe, Tempe, yeah. So that's what.
Yeah. Okay. No worries. My apologies for that, Paul. Great to have you here. Now, Jay is agreeing with Carl, and I'm just wondering what Carl said. Yeah, 20 to 200 Travel King compared to the 24 to 200. Yeah, exactly. So the other lens, which we've had on the screen here, is the upcoming, potentially rumored 20 to 200, which would be a 3.5 to 6.3. Again, that's a pretty spectacular lens. Looking forward to seeing the image quality, but that's a lot of range in one lens, isn't it?
That's a lot of range. That is almost too much range. And the aperture at 6.3 on the far end of it's going to be a little bit challenging. But again, if you just want a good travel kit lens, you're not worried about all that kind of stuff, it's probably going to be at a very good price point.
Yeah, it's full frame. Okay, yeah. So it's very similar to the pre-existing lenses like the 24 to 200 and the 28 to 200, and of course Nikon has the 28 to 400. So you kind of can just choose: do you want longer or do you want wider? There's just There's options coming out of our ears, isn't there, Bobby? So
There is.
there's no real timing here for the come on brain, the 135 1.4. There's no timing, but they're saying August 19th for the 200 mil, and there's no timing on the 20 to 200. So I don't know.
That should be exciting if that happens. That should be very exciting. 200 F2, is there saying it? 200 F2?
Yeah. Did we talk about that last week? I
think we did. Yeah,
notes to talk about it, but I
we
just
did.
don't know if
we
it
did talk a
happened.
little. We did talk a little bit about that because obviously there's a 201.8. I think Canon did that, if I'm not mistaken. Then they called it the Eye of Sauron or something like that. That was the kind of the street name for it. But yeah, this would be an exciting lens if they do come out with it. Ooh, that's a good map. Yeah, cool. That's very good. They're very good. Very good.
Now, Raymond's hot this morning. On the S end of Vancouver Island. I don't know what the S end of Vancouver Island means, but we're just going to take that and then suddenly rain. So Ray, my dear friend Ray, the amazing YouTuber who, remember, he's going to get his books out soon. So Ray, let us know when the books are out so people can order them. He lives on the west coast, basically, of Canada. And, you know, a couple of weeks ago, remember how there was an earthquake and they were worried about, you know, Ray was saying to me, you know, we're worried about the waves hitting where he lives. So he gets that ocean rain coming in. He gets all the crazy weather coming off the Pacific Ocean. Plus, he can go visit, you know, Putin and Trump for their chat soon in Alaska. He's probably 1,500 kilometers away from. I don't even know. Ray, let us know, how far from Alaska are you? But he's closer than you and I are, Bobby. Anyway,
that's true. That's true.
And
Vancouver Island's absolutely beautiful. It's beautiful. That is a beautiful place to live. So I'm very jealous of Ray. Yeah.
Joseph's saying, "G'day, Joe. Fantastic to have you here." And everybody, shout out to Joe. Joe, you would have seen with me in a lot of my videos over the last few years. It was his birthday yesterday. So everybody,
happy birthday, Joe.
Please wish Joe happy birthday in the comments. Woo! Happy birthday. Sing with me, Bobby. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Joe. Happy birthday to you. We're going to be out of sync, so that's going to be terrible. But anyway, that was for you, Joe. I hope you liked it. Yes, it's absolutely fantastic to have Raymond here and Joe here. The meeting of the mindless. Yes, I suppose that must be us. Yes. Thank you very much, Jim. We appreciate that. We'll put that up there proudly. Thank you very much. Now, okay, so that's Sigma, and Sigma are going so hard, Bobby. They have put out so much amazing glass this year.
I think what's happened, my guess is that, you know, during the COVID time, they had some, you know, they had to obviously hold back because of production and everything else. But now they are just full throttle. So I think a lot of ideas that they had in the past, they're now coming to fruition. They're being very aggressive at rebranding from Sigma as well. So they're not even considered a third party like lens manufacturer anymore. They're just a lens and camera manufacturer that just happens to make for the E mount and L mount, but the L mount is also native for them as well with the BF and the FP,
and Z and RF, just not as many.
Yeah. I mean, obviously those are reasons probably unbeknownst to them or unbeknownst to us why that is. But I have to say that Sigma's really done a great job with the rebranding, and their optics have been fantastic, and they really do put out some great glass. Great glass.
Yes. Very good. Back to presets. Jim says yes, presets only as a starting point. Carl is saying in Lightroom, I only use presets when doing black and white. Joe says so. On the fly mods, I think is what he's saying there. Anyway, the poll is up. Please vote in the poll. And Bobby, remind me before we leave to have a look at the poll, because we will have a few votes come in, because it's always just very interesting to see. So I've put the link. Did I put it in? Did I post it there? Yeah, I posted it there.
You did.
YouTube Matto and posts. Jump on there. Let us know. Do you buy and use presets? Yes or no? Fantastic. Yeah, let's go back to photography. Absolutely correct. The only presets that I use is monochrome. Otherwise, I tweak as needed. Jay is saying, last night I spent an afternoon shooting with a former pro sports photographer. He is now using presets in situations where the lighting conditions are predictable. He is a convert. I was surprised.
Makes sense.
Yeah, well, in any situation where you've got to pump out a lot of stuff quickly.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You want to get those images out ASAP, but you want a certain look to them, especially if you know you can fix the lighting. Because especially in sports photography, as I learned as well, sometimes the lighting is not optimal for photos. It's designed for video or for TV, or it's designed to just be seen. But when you get the photos and the fluorescent lighting or the unnatural lighting, it can throw your image off. So to have a preset that you can correct that lighting, make the blues look great in the water, make the people's skin tone pop, or whatever the case is, you drop it on and you go. It saves them time. No issues at all with that. Yeah, there's this funny thing, Matt. I think there's a very interesting connotation that when you go into the pro world, that everything has to be done from scratch. That everything you have to shoot in raw, you have to create, you have to edit all your images from scratch from the very beginning. But when you get into that speed, like as you mentioned, they don't have the luxury of time. They are literally taking photos, editing between heats or matches or during a timeout, and they're sending them off to their editor ASAP through the Ethernet or through the internet. They're getting them out so fast.
Absolutely, and uh, they even shoot JPEG for that same reason.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
they'll kind of preset the camera to the look that they're going to go for, and then that's just all baked in and off it goes. Jim is saying,
Yeah.
in my experience, using presets gives me more artistic rendering than I could create from scratch. Conversely, sometimes they just aren't needed. Yeah, well, look, my comment. So my comment on it is it's definitely use case oriented. Like if I do an event, then it's a bit like sports. The lighting remains the same, and then you can sort of just copy and paste across. It's
Yeah.
interesting because I'll often you'll move through sections of the event, and it's like these 40 images, they've got the same look, so there you go. And the way I do it is I will set my preset. I will set my settings for the first one, and then I'll copy it across the next 40. And then we move to another location or do something different, and then I create the first one for that group, and then I'll copy it across that next 80, and so on. So,
Yeah.
and weddings would be another example of that, where you move from outdoors, indoors, daytime, nighttime, and I wouldn't have thought one preset could cover all of them, but you obviously get a few options. And someone else commented, of course, with monochrome. It's fantastic to have presets when it comes to monochrome.
Agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I see there's actually an app, or I saw this plugin or something. I seen it advertised by some YouTubers out there. It's like an AI plugin for a Lightroom or something, and it actually does. It helps you color grade or add color or tweak your images all in one shot and like in a batch. And it does it even with masking as well too. It'll actually look at the image and actually know how to put the masking once you give it like a sort of a template to use. And I think this is great for wedding photographers or event photographers that really need to get this stuff out fast and they don't want to spend hours and hours editing. Obviously, for the few images that are going to go out to the client that are going to be the final images, you know what I mean? Like you want to fine tweak those just to fine tune to make sure that everything is right on the skin tone, everything looks good. But for a lot of just environmental shots that maybe don't need to worry about it so much, these are great ways to get the job out there and save you a lot less time. Because this is something even for me when I do my photo reviews and I'm editing images for my lens reviews and stuff like that or cameras. I mean, I sometimes have to go through about 20, 30, 40 images and I'm tweaking them and stuff like that. And sometimes I'm like, okay, this look, I want this kind of color. The greens I want to look this way, the blues this way, the reds, just copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, and then tweak along the way just to sort of make it have a more of a continuous look. So, I mean, everyone's got their own workflow.
well, not only is it use case, but then we all see the world differently. And I believe we literally all do see the world differently. Like the way we see
Yeah,
colors, and some people don't see some colors the same as other colors. So
sure.
really, of course, there's no right and wrong with any of this. And at the end of the day, it's about having fun with what we do and creating what you love and what you're proud of. Joe says, I don't use presets, but often apply Nik Pro contrast in their color effects and then fade the effects to taste. Jim has said, exactly, Matt, consistency is great for a specific event sometimes. Markman05, Imagine AI or Aftershoot. I don't know what that is.
Aftershoot to do. I saw Aftershoot. That's kind of like one of those that software that I was talking about that sort of does it for you
Gotcha.
as well. Yeah.
Yep. VJ is saying, I'm confused on the whole preset thing. Wouldn't you have more options, capabilities in post on PC than on your camera, especially when you apply the same set of changes across the range of images? Well, interestingly, it's sort of both, because in the case of at least Nikon to capture one, the presets are there. So the same presets that you have in your camera are in Capture One, and you can apply them and then edit from there. And I don't know if Lightroom works the same way. I think it does. I think it has some, if not all, of the presets, and I don't know whether they're identical. That's another thing I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I've just got someone coming to my gate. Bobby, can you just fill for a
Yeah.
second while I?
Sure, no problem at all. Yeah, because I'll talk. Ronald's got a question for me here, so I'll help you out with that. Okay, cool. So Ronald asked the question, Matt, can you please allow Bobby to share what he did about the A12 for swimming? I wonder if the Z9, Z8 have the same type of capability in its AF system. Bobby, that insight was so dope. Thanks, Ronald. Thank you so much for that. Look, what I learned is, if you guys haven't seen my video, it's actually on YouTube. You can check it out. And it's part. I took an excerpt from a longer video about my experience at the World Aquatics Championships, and I was working with Sony Singapore on this. And one of the one of the benefits of being there is obviously you get to meet the Sony engineers, and you're working in a, they had the Sony depot. Nikon had a depot there as well, and so did Canon. And these depots are where you pick up camera gear and lenses, and you go out and you shoot these specific sporting events. And because you may not have all the focal lengths that you may want, like a 400, 600, you know what I mean, 800, depending on the camera system or whatever have you, they have these lenses and camera bodies that you can loan out. And while I was there, I was, I've never shot sports in this type of environment before. I mean, I've always done it more in a recreational or more of a hobbyist. And so I was having a little bit of a challenging time with subject detection in human form with swimming, going with the swimmers in the pool, the various different heats, breaststroke, freestyle, backstroke, things like that, that I would always be missing focus. So I'd go back and I'd talk to the engineers. Most of them were from Japan, a couple from Singapore, most were from Japan, from Sony HQ. And was funny enough is they helped me along the way, and then the autofocus was getting better. And then I went back again because I was having a little bit of a challenge. And then they said, why don't you talk to this guy, because he is the engineer who designed the A12 autofocusing system. And so I was like, oh, wow. Okay, I get to talk to this guy. He's a very nice guy, kind of a younger guy, as I mentioned in the video. And he was teaching me about the subject detection in the camera system. Now, I don't know about every camera, how they're designed, because sometimes the engineers, they know the nuances to this type of software, firmware, however they're designed inside of cameras, that we as consumers just don't know. So he explained to me something. He goes, he goes, look, here's the situation with this. He goes, when you are using human detection, it's focusing on the eyes and the face. Now, if someone is diving into the pool, or you only see the top of the head, it's not going to detect that person. It only sees a shape, so it doesn't know. So it's going to look for people around the frame, depending on your focal spot. If you are very small, then it will just look in that area. But if you're, like, say, wide or zone, it's going to look all over the frame. So what he recommended doing was the setting, which I didn't know Sony cameras have. Some people know this, some people don't, is that you can you can assign it to a function button, lens, the camera body, wherever it is, hold it down. While you're holding it down, it's pausing the human subject detection. So it's still autofocusing, and it's still looking for a subject in the frame, wherever your focus area is at, but it's not looking for, let's say, a human or an animal or a bird or a plane or train or whatever it may be. It's just looking for the subject that's nearest to your focal point on the lens, and then it locks onto that. But once you release that button, it goes back to subject detection, human or animal, whatever you have it set. I had no idea there was a setting like this at all in a Sony system, because for me, when I was using the Sony cameras previously, I would always have to, like, go to the function menu and set one of the icons there to turn off subject detection completely, and then go back on and turn it on again. I didn't know you could actually press a button to hold it to temporarily pause it and then go back on. And once I got this setting, and obviously they tweaked some other settings in terms of speed of how subjects come into frame, my hit rate improved dramatically. And it really kind of taught me that, as great as these AI systems are, they are still AI and they're still learning. And I mean, look, in 2 to 5 years, these camera systems are going to be able to see things and shapes that we I mean, it's going to be unbelievable. But really, at its current phase, it's still really good. But in swimming and diving and in situations like that where the head is down, I would have no idea. I just kept leaving it on human detection because thinking it would detect all this, but it doesn't. And so it was a really good eye-opening experience. And the gentleman was so friendly, and obviously he didn't speak great English, and so his associate translated for him. And obviously that's fine because I'm even for me when I speak to them, I have to speak in a more slower English because they're not understanding everything I say too. And but we communicated in a beautiful way that just they were so endearing and so sweet and so nice with it and patient with me. It really, because I feel like a bit of a novice asking questions like this, but these are features that a lot of people didn't even know that use Sony cameras. And I guess Ronald's asking there as well is like, is there something for Nikon and Canon? I don't know, Matt. Is there something for Nikon that you can actually hold down to pause subject detection?
So, so Roger has said, I have used a similar strategy on the Z9 back button AF with 3D tracking display button set to IAF. So what that means is he's pressing one button to get one focus style and another button to get the other focus style. So it sounds like basically it's the same outcome, just with a different way of implementing it. But that's allowing you to go between two different focus modes, and you can customize the focus modes, like whatever you want to be on either of those buttons. And so yes is the answer. In a different way of doing it, but same outcome. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I think with the Nikon you turn it off and on by pressing it. This one you just press and hold. So yeah, it's very similar. It's similar how it works. So it's
well, I think the way
right?
this one is like F1 could be 3D tracking, and F2 could be people detect. And maybe if Roger's still there, so you don't have to press it on and off. They're just going to overwrite each other. So, Roger, if you're still there, let us know like that how that implementation works. Yes.
No,
Phil.
It was really
Phil is saying, J Blue, thanks. Didn't realize that. I rarely used them, but wasn't aware they weren't identical. Oh, sorry. We're talking about the colors here at the moment.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And Rani is saying this is the best. This is the best Nikon focus tutorial. Well, we're talking about Nikon and Sony, so it's a little bit of both. So, all right. Well, we'll move on from presets for now, but I just wanted to. What have I done with it? Oh my God. Yes, here it is. So far in our poll, and I know you love polls as much as you love the Z7 III, Bobby. We have and now the internet's stopped working, let's hope the stream doesn't stop working. Why isn't it not loading that page? That's great. That's great television when your page just doesn't reload. Okay, well, we'll just wait for that to come back. What the hell? Anyway, we'll move on. Now, gentlemen, sorry, not gentlemen, people, everybody, although we've only had gentlemen commenting, we'd love to have people from every gender, all genders, both genders, however you want to call it, commenting, please. Everybody is welcome here.
Of course.
Now, Carl is asking, you can use 3D or auto without subject detection. That's true. You can turn it off. That's completely true.
Yeah.
Roger has stated, press and hold either button for the assigned focus mode. Press and hold. Oh, I see. So it's the same. It's what you're saying. You press and hold it to do it. That's cool.
Yeah. So I mean, these are things. This is the interesting thing about a lot of these camera systems, and I think it goes to. I mean, look. I mean, I after this experience for me, I realized how important it is to spend good quality time with a camera system and really get to talk to the people that know it. Because sometimes, and I think Matt, you probably can attest to this. We get sent gear, and we're figuring a lot of this stuff on our own based on the knowledge that we know, and sometimes we ask the team or whatever, it could be the company or the representative, and they only know so much too. So when you get an opportunity to speak to the when you speak to the tech engineers exactly who designed this, they have a different way of explaining it, and they have a knowledge base that it goes far beyond, because this knowledge starts from here and then it gets trickled down to where, marketing or whoever will say, well, we think this is important. We're going to share this with our creators or our media personalities to talk about this. But there's a lot of things that we just don't know. And so it was just a great opportunity for me to have to be able to speak to this gentleman, and just
Absolutely.
the entire experience with the A1 II. It made me understand more about the camera, and it's not like like, I mean, like he said, the A9 III autofocusing is a bit better than the A1 II when I asked him that question. But I think also if it's a global sensor, it's a little bit different technology, but they're very close. But the fact that these little chips and tricks can help us get better photos. And sometimes it is going back to the basics, so to speak, where you have to turn off subject detection because it doesn't see things. It's not to say that things are bad. It's just this is where we're at currently in the technology. And we just have to understand how to go. We have to be more versatile versus letting to think that the camera does everything when it does a lot, but there's still human control involved.
Very good. All right. So before we move on from autofocus and
Yeah.
color presets, we did two things there. We've got where the poll is up to right now is that there has been 26 votes. Thank you very much. And if you haven't voted in the poll yet, please do. 26 votes. Do you buy and use presets? 19% of people say yes. 81% of people say no. So that's where it's up to right now. Please get your vote in so we have the most accurate data. I love accurate data. Don't you love accurate data, Bobby?
I think you love it a bit more than me. You love numbers. You're a
I do
numbers
love
guy.
numbers.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
am. I love spreadsheets. I used to put together spreadsheets of
Are
sort of
you an
things that
Excel
you didn't.
guy? Are you an Excel
Well,
guy?
I was in the day, absolutely. Yeah. Now
Wow.
I use numbers because it's free.
That's my kryptonite. I don't understand it. It just is a language that I just don't I can't wrap my head around it.
No
I
worries.
I I envy you. How? Please teach me off air how to use this
I
stuff.
will. I will. I'd be proud and honoured to teach you Excel. Of course, you could pick up because before Tony Northrup was an online photography influencer, he wrote computer manuals. So yeah. Anyway, I'd prefer to teach you. You don't have to look at. You don't have to look at one of Tony's manuals from like 15 years ago. Carl has said it goes without question. Knowing your camera leads to better images. Yes, absolutely.
Agree.
Now, of course,
Agree.
if anybody has any QQQs or comments, get them in there as we're coming down the home straight of this episode. But we just wanted to touch on the last topic was also related to Sony Alpha rumors, and Ray's
Yeah.
telling us that he is innumerate. Okay. Ray, but you know, I'm sure there's some things you know how to count. But anyway, talk to us, Bobby.
You know, I think that this is great. That was such a loaded comment.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think getting back to these rumor sites, look, I understand that they're exciting and they keep the industry alive, so to speak, and it keeps people talking. But I do think, and I wonder this, Matt, and we've had this conversation as well, is that sometimes, look, we're all privy in this space to know certain things in advance, and we sign NDAs, and I think everybody knows that. That's not a surprise. But I do feel like, does it help the industry by knowing all like these leaks, true or not true? And some of the leaks are actually not true, and I think we know that from firsthand experience. Does it help the industry or does it hurt the industry as a whole, or does it hurt consumers? Because sometimes, you know, I get it. People want to get this information out because they want to be the people. They want to be known as the person in the know. They get a few thousand views. But these brands spend so much time building these products, and then they have a whole marketing plan that they want to release and a way that they want to approach it. And then when this leak comes out, sometimes these leaks are given by the brands themselves, and sometimes they are not. Does it help? Does it actually make things worse? And it makes it go, you know, and we lose that excitement as consumers going, wow, this would have been cool to just, it's kind of like seeing a movie trailer and seeing the entire movie in the trailer. And then when you go see the movie, you're like, well, I'm not excited anymore. Or when someone spoils a movie, you know what I mean? Like, cause they want to be one of those people out there. And you're like, man, I really was so excited to see that. Like, I want to see all three Spider-Men out there. I don't want somebody to spoil it for me without telling me in advance. You know what I mean? And I feel like,
Absolutely.
I feel like, is there a limit to this? Like, case in point, I mean, I don't know if this Sigma lens 135-1.4 is legitimate or not, but obviously it's not been talked about anywhere else. And if Sigma has plans for it, or maybe it's just an idea, is it right to do that to them? Is it right to put it out so early? Or would it be right to say, hey, look, let's let them have their moment to build their products, to make it come out when they want to come out with, and just think about it, and I think that this happens a lot with these products. And sometimes we make and then these reviewers or these leakers will make assumptions on a product based on limited specs. And the problem is that we live in this day and age of knowledge that we just only take headlines or the first line of a caption and we think that is the truth, when in reality it may not be the full truth. And I mean, I can tell you there are things that this Sony Alpha Rumors guy's gotten wrong. And I know firsthand because I had the products, that these are after they've already been announced. But I'm like, he's completely wrong on this. Why would he say this? Like, why not just not say anything, double check? Why try to be the first and then damage potentially or cause people to go, oh, it doesn't have that. I thought it had that. Okay, I don't want to buy because it's like you're affecting people's livelihood and sales. I don't know. That's just my take. Maybe I'm taking it too seriously, but I just feel like sometimes it's a bit much.
Yeah, well, for me, who's launched my own products, and in the cases of these camera companies, they probably with each product launch, let's say $1 million is spent. Because if you think about the fact that they've got to have staff, excuse me, staff going out to give people the gear, then they'll actually have the social media side of it where they're actually doing their own advertising, which is paid advertising, et cetera, whatever. So one is they spend money to control the narrative as to what comes out. And when I say control the narrative, it's their party. Like it's their opportunity to celebrate. I don't mean control the narrative as in try and deceive people. I mean, yay, we've got an exciting new product. And of course, everybody wants to do everything in life. When you create, if you write a book or you make a movie or whatever you do, you want to present it in its best light. So there's nothing wrong with that. That is what we actually all do, and that as a criticism is unfair. So that's number one. Number two, if some of these rumors are true, I want to know where they come from. Like where this Sony Alpha Rumors pumps out, I reckon, more rumors than any other page. Where do they come from? Because if the companies don't want them, how do they get there? Where do they come from? So that's another question to me. Who's responsible for this information getting out there? And then three is, if they're wrong, if they're false, but they're kind of called a rumor. So it's kind of, he will often say, oh, I've got 3 sources and 2 of them are saying this. And so it feels pretty reputable. And so it kind of makes us think that it's kind of real, if that makes sense. And I think it's very different to a speculation video, which I enjoy because I go, look, this is the technology that's available today, and I'm speculating. I have no information, but this might be what the horizon is. And I just, to me, it's like going, what's the next Mustang? What's the next Porsche going to be? Are they going to go a straight 6, a Boxster, a twin turbo? Are they going to put a suppressor on there? Not a supercharger, and you're just having a bit of a fun with it. You're not saying, but I know. So there's a lot of layers to it where it's like, so the impact is, does it affect the camera companies? And I think in some cases it does. In some cases it does affect the camera companies. Yep.
It has to in a lot of ways. It affects their marketing, how they roll out something out. Because if this news gets out there and it's picked up by other publications and other media outlets, it ruins how they're going to launch a product. Because now they're like, okay, well, this is out, so now what do we do? You know what I mean? Like, it's unfortunate, and it causes. I don't think it really helps because, like, I think Fel M says here, the latest Sony RX1R and Fuji X-Half cameras are examples of inflated expectations. Sometimes it causes inflated expectations because the information isn't correct. And so when the real product comes out, people are like, oh, I was expecting this. And we're both guilty of that because we've talked about this as well. We're human beings. We talked about it amongst ourselves, but I do feel like that's where I feel like maybe there needs to be a pause to say, hey, look, it's great to speculate, and I think speculation is fun. It's exciting to talk about technology that's out there. What about if? But to say that something is, and it's not been officially announced, and you could be wrong, and sometimes he is wrong, I feel, but then how many people are going to watch again or see the follow-up to correct? I don't think, and not everybody does. It's like fake news. Sometimes you see a headline on Twitter or X now about, it could be about politics, it could be about technology, it could be about something like, for example, the Kodak story, where they said Kodak's going to go out of business or whatever the case is. And Kodak had to come out, wait a second, guys, we're still in business. Everything is fine. Here's a bit more of the finer details here. And it goes, oh,
Yeah, we're
but how many
restructuring.
people
We're trying to fix it.
yeah, but how
Yeah,
many people are seeing that reply, but they're only seeing
of
the
course.
headline and going by that? So that's where I feel like if you're going to do a rumor site like this, you got to be a bit more responsible. That's just my take.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm a bit
I
more
agree.
old school that way, but I don't know. That's just my
No, no,
take.
no. I agree. Look, we're a similar vintage, but and I'll comment on that. Ron is saying the same thing about in regards to those unfiltered, sensationally negative comments hurt Nikon in the early days of mirrorless. Bobby and Matt, extremely large YouTubers, irresponsibly, truly impede the fantastic aspects of Nikon and Canon. And this is something that's another example of it that happens. I mean, you've got the power of large YouTubers can literally bend the success of a product sometimes. Yeah. VJ is saying, and I was going to say something else, but I'm sorry I forgot. I
No, it's,
try not to get in the rumor mill. It's a waste of mental energy. Rather spend the energy creating images. The product will be out as it is, no matter what you know what yeah no matter what you want or what the rumor said. And that's exactly what I feel. A camera drops, people complain, and I'm like, well, this is what the company decided to make, so what are any of us going to do? You can put the boot in as hard as you like.
yeah.
Yes, I mean, so much of what I remember what I was going to say roughly, and that is, I think the sad part for me is that reporting has now been supplanted with clicks. In other words, if you're a reporter, if you work for a news outlet, and I try to if you work for a news outlet, you should have at least two sources, and really three. That's what a reporter will tell you. If they're reporting on anything, they should have three. If they're hearing it from somewhere else, as opposed to if they're actually capturing it with their camera. Back to image authentication, hey, wink, wink. But you should have three sources of this information before you start talking about it. And, when I made my video that was the triple comparison video, I did triple and quadruple check things because the information was not the same in different, some of it was not the same. And it was like, well, which one do I choose? So I agree with you, Bobby, that this outlet is just putting stuff, it's just throw it and get whatever clicks you can get, and really it's like I don't there does not feel like responsibility. Now I could say the word journalistic responsibility, and of course YouTube and everyone else would argue, oh, you're not journalists and you're not this and you're
Sure.
not that. But I do think that some of these outlets, channels, don't keep in mind that they actually cause damage, right? And
Yeah,
I
they
get
do.
quite frustrated that they cause damage, and they're never made responsible for it. And we saw that with probably Nikon the most 6 or 7 years ago. And I would say, and I suppose we want to talk about this in the next episode because it's a big topic, but how did it impact, for example, the RX? Oh, man, its name is the
RX, yeah,
RX1,
RX, one R, R30.
RX1R3.
Well, I mean,
Like
yeah, I mean, I guess,
how was that
yeah.
affected, by all of this?
I mean, it's impacted in a big way because here you have this engagement baiting, I call it now. I mean, where I know it's a topic we're going to talk about next week, so I won't go too much into it today. But it's one of these things where people get limited information, they make a judgment, they say, "Oh, this is bad. It doesn't have this." Da, 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 da. They all complain. Then when they get the camera or the product in their hand, "Oh, it's actually good. I actually like it." And a lot of times they do this to get people to watch their videos, to watch their content, because it's like people feed off negativity, then they round it out with positivity, then it's like they've got this full circle of engagement to get people to watch and to get their views with their views and clicks. But I think, and we talked about this a little bit, I wanted to go too much into it, but I feel like, is that also a disservice to the viewer, that there's a lack of trust? Where this person is just going to automatically jump the gun and say this, and then come back, oh, it's actually good when I try it, versus saying, hey, look, I'm not going to make much an opinion on this. Okay. I mean, I haven't seen the camera, don't know what it's like. I don't know how it performs. Let me get in my hand and then make the assumption. Again, you're not going to get as many clicks. You're not going to get as much engagement, but is that maybe the better way to go about it? I don't know. I mean, everybody's got their approach. I'm not going to say one is right or wrong. I don't feel I'm always right. I don't feel we're always right. We always make mistakes, but I'm just thinking, is this the right way to go about it? Are we losing that confidence in our community by doing this back and forth yo-yo thing? You know?
Yeah, well, look, that's another whole topic which maybe we'll hit on in the next episode. There's lots of people commenting on what we're talking about here. I'm just been throwing up some of those comments. We've got Roy saying YouTube clickbait has become a sport. Ronald, exactly, brother. Click versus truth, facts.
Yeah.
Fel M, for example, there was a rumor on the new rangefinder Nikon camera. If they don't release it, people take it on. Yeah, that's right. I mean, you hear about these rumors and then they don't happen, and then people get upset. And there's lots of comments. I mean, I really want to put them all up there because I think it's worth hearing everybody's thoughts. In the end, it's best to go with the flow. Don't get upset with false rumors. Darko, Matt, your vid on the original Z7 in 2024 sold me on that. Oh, sorry, thank you. It's a pleasure. It's still a great camera. I still love it. I still use it. Roger, I worked as a journalist in the 70s and 80s. The rule then was first be right, then be first. Love that. Love that, Roger. Thank you.
Yeah.
John Ishii. G'day, John. Great to have you here.
Hey,
Anybody
John.
going to the KLPF? What's the KLPF? Is that the Kuala Lumpur? What's the Kuala Lumpur Grand Prix? No, don't know.
No,
Let us know
no,
what
no,
that
no,
is this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ron is saying, thanks, you all are so refreshing. You both are legit as reviewers, provide wonderful, consistent quality. Thank you, Ronald. That means a
Thanks.
lot to us. Really appreciate it. Hopefully, says Carl, in the end, we all learn who to trust and who not to trust. Well, that's a really important one to me. And Bobby and I'm sure some days sit at our desk going, God damn it, I want to make a response video to this video that's just come out. And then we know that as much as we want, truth and justice to be out there, getting into YouTube politics is not cool either. So
Yeah.
it's a tough one, isn't it, Bobby? I mean,
Yeah. I think it gets to a point
would you
where
ever see a day where maybe we should sit down and I'm just throwing caution to the wind here, where we said we're going to have a video all about our favorite channels and our not favorite channels, or something like that. I don't know. And before you answer that, John has said that is the Kuala Lumpur Photo Festival. Thank you for that, John.
Gotcha.
Paul says, and you can answer after, lack of ethics hurts. So, yes, could we ever do that, Bobby? Make a video where we, I mean, I don't know, like we're not world police, let's think South Park.
Yeah.
World police, but
I
sometimes
don't
things
think
are so left field that you just kind of go, oh man, that's so off range. How do you let it slide?
I mean, I guess there's two ways to look at it. We could always pick the fight. We can always try to be in the sandbox picking fights with everybody we don't agree with, or we just rise above it and just say, okay, we're just going to concentrate on what we do. I mean, there are times, and we've talked about this offline because I mean, we chat all the time about what this person says, what's going on here, this and that. But I don't know. I feel sometimes like, do I want to go in the weeds with that? Do I want to get into the weeds? Is that what I want to do with this channel? Do I want to do with my time? I mean, my time is
Exactly.
so precious. I've got so many things I have to do and work on. It's like, do I
Yep.
need to spend that time on somebody else's BS, or just kind of rise above it and just do my own thing? And so I've kind of decided to go on the latter,
Yep.
versus yeah.
I agree with you 100%. And the only part of my brain that goes, so I agree with all of those reasons you gave. I'm
Yeah.
not actually interested, and I actually like creating positive things, and I have way more fun putting out an awesome video, and blah blah blah. But it's not about like attacking other people. It's about going, well, that's factually wrong. And
Yeah.
I'm not, I don't like the fact that factually wrong information is out there. And I would say I'm near expert level in the Nikon Z system. I own probably almost all the cameras, not quite. I bet there's not too many people who can say that. And then when you see
True.
people literally going yada yada yada, and it's like that is just flat wrong. And then you have people commenting on that yada yada yada, going, "Oh man, I
Yeah.
didn't know," or what? And you're just like, "Geez, here's guys like you and me working so hard. Like I will go out and prove something. Like I'll go out and take a lens and go, can I make this work? And then I do it and I bring it back and I go, well, yep, I'm going to do it a second time just to be sure. And only
Yeah.
then will I report on it, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah, it's
I mean,
tough.
that's
It's
what we
tough.
can that's what we can do. I mean, and the thing about it is, unfortunately, is that it's those kind of things out there, that drama that people do, or these kind of assumptions and the way that they talk like they know everything. I mean, obviously, I get it. Everybody wants to follow an authority. They want to know somebody who's an expert. They want to believe that that this creator that they like, it sounds like they know what they're talking about. And yeah, they have some good tips and tricks. And they're like, yeah, this person really knows. And that builds an instant trust. And I get that's part of the game. I totally get that. But I mean, but to me, it's if you just try to come off as an expert, but you don't know that much. I'd rather be the one say, I don't know much. I'm learning along with you. And I won't
Mm.
get as many views, fair enough, but I'd rather be that person than come off like, hey, I'm a photographer. I know this. I've done that. I've done this. I see people do this all the time in the cinema world. And, they talk about cinema gear and they're like, oh, I've worked on this. I've done this production, that production, but you never see the productions they work on. They just talk like they do. And then they come off like know-it-alls. But the reality of it is that they don't know everything or they're heavily biased. And it's not fair to the audience that looks to them for a very good, honest opinion. I don't. Anyway, I'm digress. I've gone on to a different deep end, but that's just my
No, no,
thoughts.
that's good. No, 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 no. Well, everybody, absolutely fantastic to have you join us again this week. Bobby and I, we do love to get passionate about certain subjects, and hopefully we can, fire that passion up about lots more topics in the future, Bobby. Now, again, to repeat, I know you love polls, and the current votes, 43 votes on do you buy and use presets, and we have 14% saying yes, 86% saying no. So that's really interesting, isn't it? I wouldn't have thought that. I would have thought it
Yeah.
would be higher for presets. Of course, this is not a full understanding of the world, because I think, Bobby, our live stream attracts, a lot of serious photographers right here, and
Yes.
there could be, there could be all sorts of different types of outcomes. So we will let that sit there, and next week we'll come back to it, which I know you'll love that as well. What have we got? A couple more comments before we run out of here. What have we got going on? I lost my mouse again, which is we've got Flats Nation saying, Matt sold me on the Z6, which is still my old warhorse. Firmware updates really improved it, so credit to Nikon also for not forgetting those who bought in early.
Yeah.
Z6 killer camera, and if you buy one of those second hand, and if you're not shooting sports wildlife sort of stuff, that will still give you 100% result. And that's the thing with the Z7. My Z7 still works the same as the day that I bought it 7 years ago. And if you're doing portraiture, still life, real estate, and you can do action, you just
Yeah.
it's just not fully automatic like an A1 II. Still great cameras, and so affordable, so well built, just very high quality. So yes, I again, I'm glad I helped. You get your Z6. We've got Markman05. Yeah, I do see a lot of bias from videographers in what they want in mirrorless cameras versus what photographers want. That's interesting, isn't it? I mean, you go.
Yeah, this is an interesting topic. No, I think this is interesting because you're seeing a lot more of these camera companies getting these cameras into the hands of videographers or people that shoot video more than photography, but yet they're making a hybrid camera, and nobody's talking about the photography aspect of it. And I think that's kind of a disservice to them as well. Like, I think, and what happens is these video people are like, oh, I want this setting, I want that setting. And then the photographer's like, hey, what about me over here? Well, does this work for me? And then you don't get much of that information because they've been focusing on the video people. And I think there's one brand in particular who makes a really good camera, and all the influencers that they brought in for their trips that were doing the releases of these videos, 95% were video people first and not photographers. And so all you were hearing was video specs. and nothing about the photography. And then the photography people are like, hey, what about this camera? How does it work for photos? So even when I got
the
the
S1 too, isn't it?
S1R2, yeah, S1 II and S1R2. Yeah, and these are great cameras for photography. So that's what I try to do in my video. Is
why not?
Exactly. And it's great colors, great everything. And I thought to myself, I'm going to focus on photography as well as some video, but more photography because this is what people, they buy a camera to take photos too. It's not just about video. Otherwise, it would be a box and no EBF. Yeah.
That's what I was about to say. Let's just throw out there, is that camera photography first or not? And we all know that if it's got an EVF and a grip and you hold it up to your face like this, that is photography first, video second. So yeah, very good point, Bobby. Very good point.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, lovely people. It's been so wonderful to have you all here. Thank you so much for engaging with us. We absolutely love it. Bobby,
indeed.
Thank you. Thank you
for
being
too, Matt.
here this week. It is always a pleasure to have you flying in live down here from Singapore to Melbourne and then around the world. Like, there. And here's Seth. Hi, Seth. Just before he goes, blah, blah, blah. There's more to life than cameras, kids. Okay. I don't know what we were talking about, but we must remember to live. Yes, Seth. I was out until 12:30 last night shooting with my camera. Don't you worry. I do plenty of shooting. You will see the fruits of my labor shortly. But it's lovely to have you here for the last 5 minutes. Thank you, everybody. We got lots of thanks from everybody. Good to see you. Bye, Bobby. Love you, Seth, as always. Bye for now.
Hey,